All right. For those of you who are watching this at a later moment in time, I'm really excited because this beautiful being, Judy, has volunteered to share her questions, her insights, her inquiries into the conversation of money, specifically around creating a conscious business as a spiritual guide, as a coach, as a mentor. And she's declared herself willing to share her process of discovering what really works for her with others. So we are using this opportunity to really kind of like give you just a very clear step-by-step outline of how you can have conversations with potential clients, specifically if you are wanting to enroll them into more of a high ticket offering, meaning more of a premium priced offering, something that is going to give them the opportunity to create really rapid and massive transformation in their life, and over an ongoing period of time. So, but this really kind of applies to everything too, because our relationship to money is mirrored back to us in infinite different ways, and the ability to truly embrace and love not just money as a concept or as an energy, but talking about money and having conversations with people about money in exchange for your time, for your services. That is one of the biggest keys, and one of the things that I see most people struggling with. Even if their intentions are really pure and they want to share their gifts and they want to have impact, that can often be kind of the roadblock. So let's dive right in. And Judy, will you just share what you're up to in the world, who you be, what you're creating?
Absolutely. Thank you, Asya.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a coach and mentor as well. And what I'm up to in the world, well, to make it short, everything is around, or like really centered around helping my clients to come back to their core and really embrace the power of who they truly are, and then translate everything from there. And through my personal story, or like what I experienced, it's just so important to like navigate through all these like expectations and everything that we think that we have to do, and all these ingrained patterns and belief, and really recenter back there. And I'm working in the high ticket pricing industry thing.
Mm-hmm. Whatever that is.
In English. And yeah, I'm doing this since 2015, and since I think 1 year or so, I'm doing this my only profession.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and so for me, money in general, when money came up, it was like, oh, money, I have to have this money conversation or something. So there happened quite a lot to where I am right now. And also for me first, like money was really tied to debt or to owning, or as soon as I have money, it's get taken away and so forth. But right now, where I feel, or where I see myself having, an opportunity to expand through is when I'm talking with potential clients, then I really like to give them time to just digest, because I really I need this always. And so I'm like, yes, just let's connect in 2 days again, and I give you time to just calibrate in everything, and just let everything come up for you. And it feels so natural for me, because that's how I work. Mm-hmm. That's what I really treasure. And then what happens often is that it's like, nah, don't want to. Mm-hmm. But it's like, even we are not having the call then, or it's this constellation shortly before. And that's something where I personally would love to just know how to navigate that better. Mm-hmm. because I know it's something from my side. So I know there's something that I can massively improve there. And there's some clarity that's missing, I guess.
Okay, so just to reflect back, you are having the experience of getting on the phone with people, giving them a lot of value, having them have maybe a lot of insights, realizations, epiphanies, breakthroughs, whatever, and then wanting to give them that time, a couple days, to digest that information and really feel into whether this is what they want. Mm. And what you find often is that after 2 days, that excitement maybe that was felt on the call is just, there's no follow through?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Either it was like okay, good, I know now everything from this like discovery call. They had like insights and everything. Like, good, I'm done now.
Right.
I'm illuminated. I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's this, okay, I like you just shared.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. So just so I'm clear, you said that sometimes people cancel right before the call. Is that before you ever get on the phone with them, or is there a follow-up call that you're wanting to have?
The follow-up call.
The follow-up call. Got it. So right now the way you have it structured is you have an initial call where you give them the ahas, and then you have a follow-up call, which a lot of times they are a no-show to.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. And so, when we talk about high ticket, like that, I don't even know how I feel about that term.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's such an arbitrary term because it's going to mean something so different I know someone in my community who charges $1 million a year to coach with her. And she isn't offering anything, that's necessarily better or more advanced than what you or I offer. The only difference is she's literally decided and claimed that she is worthy of that price point. And what I loved in talking to her was something that feels very true to me as well, which is this using money as the thing that is also going to match the vibration of the person that you want to work with. So in her case, if she feels very clear that one of her missions in this lifetime is to work with the 1%ers, work with the people who, are stewarding multi-millions or maybe even billions of dollars. And so the type of person that she's wanting to work with is a very small percentage of the population. But that person is going to require a certain level of price point to even take her seriously, right? So she's essentially saying, this is the price point that is going to serve my ideal client best. And for me to lower my prices down significantly would actually not serve them, because it would be harder for them to see the value in it, because their relationship to money is so different. What their idea of a lot of money is totally different than, Joe living down the street doing pizza delivery. Totally different story of what a lot of money is. So generally, I think kind of the space that people have been playing in my field, and using myself as an example, like high ticket for me, when I started, it was a $6,000 package, which gave people access to me for 6 months. And that was only possible for me to own that price point because I had walked through my own fear and resistance around investing in myself and hired a coach at a slightly even higher price point than that, when I was convinced that I couldn't afford it. And I didn't actually, literally, I didn't have the money in my bank account. And I found a way, and I made it happen because I trusted so deeply that this was the right time, this was the right person, and the very act of me investing in myself was going to be the thing that would transmute this block that I kept running into when I would get on the phone with people, which was, I love you, I want to do this, I can't afford it. So the very act of investing in myself was the piece that allowed me to transmute it, because only by walking through the story, the illusion of not being able to do the thing you want to do, myself, and recognizing that it truly was an illusion, despite all the ego chatter and the fear programming that was telling me I was being completely crazy and irresponsible, by making this commitment. When I walked through that and I came through on the other side, I could recognize that I needed to understand from the inside out how that felt in order to walk people through it as well. Yeah. So the very first thing, for anyone that I would recommend is, if you're trying to charge someone something that you yourself are not willing to pay for a similar service, then you may want to look at that. You may want to match, and we can invest in our growth in many different ways too, right? It's not always necessarily money. Like a doctor goes to medical school for 7 years, and that's part of why the price points that you pay for medical services, well, certainly in America, are justified as being as high as they are, is because the amount of energy and time and money that is invested into even being able to do that profession is what dictates the amount that someone is going to pay for that service. So I had a friend of mine recently, and I was asking her about what she felt she had invested into herself. And she was like, I mean, I've invested years of my life, into going to the workshops and doing the plant medicine ceremonies and reading the books and studying and praying and meditating. And I mean, it's hard to kind of summarize like what that's worth, right? But so it's a combination of finding what is that worth to you, and also financially, what is that place that you've been willing to stretch yourself into? What is that amount? And then using that as a starting point for what you may charge for your services. So do you want to share with us kind of what the program is and like what the specifics are?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And oh my goodness, I love that so much. Yes, it so reminds me of my first high ticket investment, and how shaky I was, but also how much more I attracted afterwards, like just clients in general, like just how the transmutation of the energy worked.
Yeah.
So yeah, my what I'm offering is right now the one-to-one, my normal, my one-on-one clients, which is 7,000, or when it's on the phone, done on the phone, and it's for 5,000. And other than that, I have my mastermind, which is like a 1 year commitment, which is like 25,000 euros. And I have a core frequency 2-month course, which is starting this Thursday, and this is 222 euros.
Okay. And that's a group program?
Yes, exactly. It's just for 3 women though. So It's a really, really small thing.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, yeah. So those are I would say pretty standard prices. For the one-on-one offering at 7,000, how long of a time do they get with you?
It's bi-weekly calls for half a year.
6 months.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, so that's perfect. So the biggest thing that I've learned in this journey is, well, first of all, before you even get on the phone with someone, do you have any sort of protocol for how they get to you?
With protocol, you mean like a process that I'm using?
Yeah, like an application process or something like that.
Yeah, so I don't have an application process or anything. Mostly it's through, like, when I'm on seminars or hosting workshops or anything, then there's a follow-up and they're like, hey, it was really cool, let's have over time. And so I have a lot of people actually reaching out to me and like wanting to have a like discovery session or something. And before that, I just always say, come unprepared as you are, and we figure everything out on the call. And then, we have the call and then the follow-up. And like, I have a special way how I guide them through the process. So there is a specific framework for that, but not before.
During the call, you have a process. Okay. Got it. And is that working for you? Do you feel, and working for you in the sense, like, I have no doubt that people are having an amazing experience with you on the call and you're creating transformation, and I'm sure that feels really good. But is that working for you in the sense of the conversion between the amount of people that you're getting on the phone with and the amount of people that end up becoming paying clients?
Yeah, it's like maybe 1 out of 10 kind of thing.
Okay, so there's a pretty big like upfront investment of energy and time happening on your end without the payoff necessarily.
Totally.
Gotcha. Okay. So one thing that I have found is extremely valuable is having an application process. And the reason for that is because even beyond receiving the answers to their questions, which is going to give you insight into where they're at in their journey and like how you can best support them, all of that is helpful, but not really necessary, because yes, we can figure all that out on the call. Even more than that, the application process is, for me, it's almost like a little bit of a test of like, how serious are you really? Because even sitting down and taking the time to properly fill out a pretty in-depth questionnaire that is very personal, shows me the level of readiness that someone is at. And I want to have that information before I offer my time to get on the phone with them, because my time is the most valuable thing I have. Now, in the very beginning, when you're just starting and you're getting a lot of value just from getting on the phone with people, maybe there's still nervousness around, being actually on a discovery call with someone, and like for me, I got a lot of value in the beginning just getting on the phone with a lot of people, because it gave me the trust that I needed within myself to create a powerful conversation. But at this point in my process, I don't require that anymore. I have unshakable trust. I know that no matter who I get on the phone with, I can create a profound experience for them by giving them my insights, my reflections, and showing them what they already know. Because at the end of the day, this is all we're doing, right? Is we're not telling anyone anything that they don't know. We're just activating the dormant wisdom that's within them and being the mirror for that. But there's no more fear or contraction or worry around my ability to deliver. So therefore, I've become extremely selective with who I get on the phone with. So the application process is just a very clean way to learn, again, less about what's going on in their life, also helpful, but more about how do they show up when you give them instruction. So if you send them an application and you say, hey, please get this back to me in the next 48 hours, and they do, now you have the feedback, you have the information that they can follow a simple instruction, and that they are going to prioritize this enough to make the time to get it back to you within a 2-day period. If they don't, then that's also feedback, right? Based off of how detailed they are, how personal they're willing to get. This is all data for you that is going to help you determine whether you actually want to invest the time to get on the phone with them. So, assuming that you do want to get on the phone with them, the most important thing that you really want to understand about the discovery call is you're doing someone a disservice if you give them the sense that all the work is done in that one call. Because if they walk away from the call and they're like, great, it's done. Like I feel so much better. Like, yes, we want people to feel empowered walking off of the call, but we also want them to walk away knowing that really this is the very beginning of a journey that is going to take them into parts of themselves that they didn't even know existed. And having someone there with them throughout that very intense process is monumental in terms of their ability to actually maintain that new vibration. So if you're coming at it not from what's the most, like I'm going to withhold value because I want them to pay me for my value. If you come at it from that lens, of course, you're not going to want to do it. But if you can see it from that lens of what is going to serve this person best? Is it really going to serve them best for me to empower them, tap them into a new vibration for the duration of the call and maybe, the hours or days following, but are they really going to be able to anchor that new vibration into their life and keep that going and create the lasting transformation that we all want for everyone? My experience generally is that it's very difficult for people to maintain that because they don't have the tools, they don't have the consistency, It's one thing to get a taste of something. It's another thing to embody it in every single moment forever. So if the intention for the call is not to like do all the work in that one discovery session for free, but instead to give them a sense of what's possible for them if they are willing to go on the journey, and get super, 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 super crystal clear about where it is that they want to end up at the end of that journey. So if your one-on-one coaching is, 6 months, that's a pretty decent amount of time, right? That they're going to spend with you. A lot is going to change in 6 months. So if you can get them super excited about what happens 6 months from today, when you're on when you're on your last call, how has their reality shifted? What are the tangible ways in which their life is different? Now they're excited and lit up and empowered by the possibility of what can be created if they are willing to say yes to themselves in a way that scares the shit out of them. Because them actually having the transformation is on the other side of them being willing to say yes to the journey. And saying yes to the journey comes with a financial investment, not just because you need to pay your rent, but because that is going to be the energetic commitment that is going to literally act like a wave carrying a surfer to the shore. It's going to act as that momentum that's going to carry them through their blocks, through their fears, through their obstacles, through all the reasons why they should stay the same and stay safe, into a new experience. And if you can get clear for yourself, and also make this clear to whoever you're speaking to, that really the work doesn't even begin until that holy shit stuff comes up around the money, then the money conversation starts to become the most valuable piece of the conversation, because everything else is just talk. Everything else is just a really fun exercise in imagination, which is great, and we love that. But the rubber hits the road when it's like, okay, and now are you willing to actually put your money where your mouth is and stretch yourself in a way that is literally designed to make you uncomfortable? The price point is designed to make you uncomfortable. For me, the price point is an initiation process. It's the first step of the initiation, and I can tell if someone's really ready to become who they say they want to be by their reaction to the price. If I have I'd rather have someone on the phone who is like, holy shit, that's way more than I thought it was going to be. I have no idea like how I'm going to make that happen. I don't have the money, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm more interested in that person than the person who's like, okay, cool. Yeah. I'll have to think about it. Like, I have the money in the savings account. I'm just not sure if now's the right time. Like that energy of like, maybe. It's very difficult to create profound transformation with that energy. Yeah. So the all in, holy shit, I'll do whatever it takes energy, that can move mountains. And I'm very honest about all of this on the phone with people. I tell people what I'm telling you. I tell them what I'm looking for. I tell them I'm looking for that. And if they don't feel that right now, then that's awesome. And that just means that this is not the right fit. I'm either just not the right person for them, or this is not the right time for them to step into this work.
Yeah.
So really, it's less about you getting on the phone and saying, this is the value I can provide. Look at how amazing my, coaching skills are. And more about, are you really ready for this? I'm actually, as the coach, I'm interviewing the client to see if they're really ready for what this is going to take.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. And my goodness, yes, with this energy that you described, like with this, like maybe kind of, so definitely, like, how is it then, like, for example, when you are on the call with someone who is excited, who wants to work, but then it's like this, yes, I have to, like, I really want that, but let me just have a bit time. Let me have a bit time to like digest that. And I mean, it differs for me. For example, sometimes I say, which is like rarely, like, okay, good. Is it like do you feel it's an intuitive yes or no? And if it's no, then we can just end it here, and it's fine for me as well. Or then, like, if I really feel that there is a kind of processing thing behind it, I'm just say, okay, let's get together like in 2 days. But also I know there's a lot of coaches work with like making upfront like investments, or like just like for holding the space at the place. And for example, I've never done that like this. So, yeah.
Yeah, and there's no right or wrong answer, Some people say that really works for them. Other people, some people will not get off the phone with a client until they've given them their credit card information. Like that to me feels a bit much. I personally, like, I'm not interested in coercing anyone into working with me.
Yeah.
What I am interested in is giving people the opportunity to really see and potentially transcend the part of themselves that really desperately wants them to stay the same. And that is the biggest, again, that's the biggest service that I can offer someone, is to show them how that voice in their head that goes, oh, right now there's a lot going on. Maybe this isn't the best time. Like, think about it. Take a moment. Like, get comfortable again, basically. That is a mechanism that literally is a biological mechanism to keep us in the comfort zone. And it's not that that's like, a bad thing. And in a lot of ways, that's served us our whole life, but it's also kept us trapped in a certain way of being that a lot of times is not working. So if we want to expand and we want to evolve and we want to really, understand our power and step into our power, then we're going to have to be willing to face off with that voice, with that part of ourself. And that part of ourself is going to get triggered and activated most when the money conversation starts, because money is directly tied to the root chakra, like survival stuff. It's like very fundamental, instinctual, biological things that are connected to that conversation. And so you can have the most lovely conversation with someone and they can be totally in their higher self. And the moment money starts being a part of it, now their root chakra fears are being activated, and like there's a contraction, there's a retreat, the retreating, there's a, I'm getting uncomfortable. And so instead of going, okay, let them go be uncomfortable on their own and then take 2 days to talk themselves out of it, which is usually what happens, let me give them the opportunity to see what's going on, to bring awareness to what's going on. And then if they choose in that moment to have me support them through it. So the way that I'll do this, and again, there's no right or wrong, right? If you really feel that you want to give someone time to digest the session, then I would probably not even have the money conversation until you have that follow-up call. So I would do the session. I would say, listen, there's a lot that, came up here, a lot that is going to continue to kind of come through for you and integrate. So I am going to give you some space to process. Let's go ahead and look at our schedule right now and pick a time and day for when we can get on the phone. If you feel that you would like to continue this process with me and you'd like to learn more about the logistics of what my offerings entail, we can have that conversation, in a day or two from now. Splitting it up, personally, I don't see a lot of benefit to it because it's just so easy for people to collapse back into the old vibration. But I'm just saying, if that's how you wanted to do it, I would most definitely not even mention the money or not even offer to work with them at that point. Because I just would want to give them that space to decide if they really want that. And then if they do, then I would never split up the conversation where I share what the price point is and the conversation where they decide if they're a yes or a no. That conversation has to be one conversation. Mm-hmm. Because there's just too many reasons that they're going to find why they can't afford it, or why now is not the right time, or they're going to be alone basically with their ego that's again trying to keep them the same. So I don't think that that's serving someone to split that up. I think what serves most is to give them a really expanded sense of what's possible and give them some definite insights into where they're at right now and what they're experiencing, and without necessarily like trying to fix anything or trying to give them anything tangible. It's more about bringing awareness to the ways of being or ways of thinking or ways of behaving that are in opposition to who they say they want to be or what they say they want to create, so that they can start to see that and they can start to go, oh wow, okay, yeah, I can see how that sentence I just said is literally the opposite of what my intention is, right? And so it's not, you're looking for a couple of aha moments in the conversation, but really you want to spend a lot of time on what does it feel like when you're on the other side of this? What does it feel like 6 months from now? And getting them super excited about that, because that excitement, that feeling that they're going to tap into is going to also be the magnetizing attractor that's going to allow them to start to match their vibration to that point in time. So the more they can tap into it, the more real it can feel, the easier it will be to move through some of those fears and limitations that are going to come up around the money conversation. So for me, I don't mention, like, I'll give you kind of the breakdown of the whole conversation of how I would have it and what has been helpful for me. And then we'll take it from there. So basically, once I've gotten someone's answers to their questions, and again, they're pretty in depth, and we schedule a time, I give them instructions for how to show up on that call. I ask them, to make sure that they are in a private, undisturbed space where they feel really comfortable, maybe light a candle, have something to write with. We're going to want at least 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So that way they know that time period is reserved for them. And also, like, if someone shows up to the phone call and they're, in between, like in the car, obviously haven't given themselves the necessary space to really be able to drop into that call, that's also a very good sign that there's probably either just a lack of seriousness, or they just need a little bit more support in seeing how they can show up for themselves better. So what I have done too, if people show up to the call in like a frantic state, or not really, like, oh, I only have half an hour before I have my next thing, I don't have the call. I say, listen, this is your life. Okay. And so how you show up to this call is how you're showing up to your life. This is very valuable feedback for you. If you would like to really show up for yourself properly and give yourself your undivided attention, then we can reschedule. So it's important to hold a really high standard level, not just for yourself, but for others to hold that for themselves, because we've never been taught how to do that. So let's say we get on the call and, everything's great. The first thing I want is for them to just start to talk to me. I want to just hear where they're at in that moment. What's present for you? You can ask them, since filling out the questions, did anything else come up for you that you'd like to share? And just kind of put the ball in their court. Let them start to share so that they can start to feel heard by you, and you can start to drop into where they're at, and that trust can start to be built. And so once they've shared, and then based off of, what you've gotten from the questions that they filled out, you making them aware that, like, this is, again, their life. So there's going to be a lot of different avenues that you can go to, and you can zoom in on any one of these many topics and spend the full session just talking about this one thing, but kind of like finding a couple things that feel most important or most present and highlighting on those, and asking for permission if that's in alignment with them. Like, okay, I see, there's this, let's say it's a money thing, right? Like, there's this really strong desire to emancipate yourself from debt, let's say. So, does that feel, like the most present thing for you in your life right now? Is that where the most contraction is happening in your life? And they might say, yes, but actually I just had a fight with my husband, and it's this pattern, of him talking down to me and not taking me seriously. And actually that's like really what's on my heart right now. Whatever's most present, go into that, because you want that emotion to be available. And then start to unpack that a little bit. You're not looking to change their entire life in that one moment. What you want to give them is a couple of, holy shit, I never looked at it like that moments, And then from that place, you can go into, so that now basically what you've done is you've started with like what's not working. And then you want to look at where would you like to be instead. So that's where we go into really feeling the joy and the excitement. So a great way to get them to start to think about the longer vision is to say, okay, let's say, assuming you and I were to work together, where would you want to be in 6 months? What would you want to be excited to tell me about that you've created in your life 6 months from today? And a lot of times people have a really hard time with this, because people aren't taught how to use their imagination. They're not taught how to think outside the box. They're not taught how to dream big. They often don't even feel safe to dream big. They feel, there's so much that can come up for them by just acknowledging that they want something big, so much guilt and shame even around acknowledging that. So if you can feel that, you want to support them, and you want to add in anything that you may have seen for them that they couldn't see for themselves, and get them super, super excited about that. And so once you've kind of covered both ends of the spectrum, then it's like, okay, beautiful. There's still obviously so much further we could go, but I want to check in with you. How are you feeling right now? And do you have any questions? And then a lot of times at that point, they'll say, I'm feeling amazing. This is super helpful. Thank you. And yeah, my questions are what does it look like? How much is it? That sort of stuff, getting into the logistics. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of the most important piece, I think, is where This is about you making sure that this person is really ready to even have that conversation. So it can be something like, I appreciate and love your enthusiasm. And before I go into any of that with anyone, because this is not just about you being excited to work with me, this is also about me being excited to work with you. So what's important for me before I go into any logistics is to get super, super clear with you. Are you ready to step in to knowing yourself in a way that is going to bring up a lot of your shadow, a lot of your stuff? It's going to push you to your edge, like really making it clear to them that transformation doesn't happen overnight, right? And having them say yes. You know, you want to hear them say yes, that they are ready for that. And if they are yes, then amazing. Now, do you feel that I am the right person to support you with this? Because I may not be. And I want you to feel into yourself right now. Does that feel like a resounding yes? Am I the person to support you in this extremely intimate journey that you want to go on? Yes. Beautiful. Now you're ready to talk about the logistics. Okay. So say, okay, this is how I work, you know. This is my offering. We'd be looking at 6 months. You would have access to me once a week, twice a month, whatever it is. You'd have access to me through email support. And the investment for that is $7,000. And then just let that kind of sink in and give them a moment to respond to that. A lot of times at this point, it will go silent.
I know.
Because people are like, whoa, because people don't know what this stuff costs, right? Like there's such a huge range in this totally unmonitored field of personal transformation that we're in. So people have no idea when they're getting on the phone. So it's like, okay, so that there's going to be a moment of like letting that land, right? And so a lot of times in that space, I'll support them and I'll be like, what's coming up for you? Is there anything coming up for you in response to that price point? Because I know that when I heard that, when I got on the phone with my coach, a lot came up. A lot came up. So hopefully, you know, if they're coachable, then they'll say, you know, what's coming up for me is I really want to do this, but like, that's just super out of my price range. I don't have that, or I don't know how to make that happen. Or not, right? And we can hold space for people to be like, great, amazing, 7,000 sounds great. How do I PayPal you? That can happen too, and that does happen. But let's assume that since you are running into this thing with people kind of falling off, let's assume that's you want to be prepared for them feeling like that's too much. And then that's really your opportunity to show them that the investment is the thing that is going to make this whole journey so much easier and faster and efficient for them, because it's literally the energy that's going to carry them through their blocks, through their limitations, through their fears, right? And so you can show them how they can use the investment as a tool for themselves, and how you've actually designed that price point specifically to bring up everything they're feeling right now. So have them get specific about what they're feeling. What's present for you right now? If you had to give me 3 words to describe what your emotional experience is in response to that number, what would it be? A lot of times you'll get, you know, constricted, heart racing, uncomfortable, excited, like stuff like that. And it's like, beautiful. All of that is in you all the time. That's always in you. You may not be aware of it because you're not usually in a situation that's going to activate and trigger that. But the fact that you're tapping into this right now shows you that stuff is there, and it's going to come up every single time you're on the verge of taking a step into the unknown. So this is, again, about bringing them super, super present to what's happening in their system, right? At any given moment, what's really happening, what's really going on, what's really preventing them from growing. It's this vibrational stuff that's not in resonance with where they want to be. So, do you have any questions around any of this so far?
No, I'm just super excited to hear the conversations. I'm like, tell me more.
Perfect. Beautiful. Yeah. And so at this point, you're going to learn a lot about the person, right? Because if they're like, okay, you know, if at that point they just want to get off the phone and they're just like, I just need time to think about it, you know, thank you so much. And like, they're not interested in like really going into exploring themselves, then that's already your answer. They're not really wanting to do the harder work, period. And that's great for you to know, because now you don't have to work with someone who's in resistance. That's not fun. I've done it. So that's where you can gracefully let them go and say, thank you for your time. It's been amazing connecting with you. Have a beautiful life, basically. Okay. When I feel someone go into shutdown or contraction around the money, I give them the option. I say, listen, this could be the most powerful moment of your life, but certainly the most powerful moment of this conversation if you want it to be. So we have two options here. I can let you get off the phone. I can let you sit with this. I can let you feel into it. More likely than not, you're going to find a lot of reasons why you shouldn't do this, because again, your ego is designed to keep you safe. And if that's what you want to do, that's totally fine. I have no problem with that. If you would like to move through this and you would like to take advantage of having me on the phone with you right now, I am willing to give you some extra time and support you in really transmuting and alchemizing this emotion that's coming up within you right now that's telling you that you can't. Because essentially what you're tapping now into is the programming within you that says you can't. It doesn't matter if it's I can't afford this. The underlying story, the underlying belief is I can't do the thing that I want to do. Where else is that showing up in your life? Probably everywhere. So transformation doesn't happen in the future. It happens in real time. Would you like to take advantage of this opportunity right now or not? And if they say yes, which again, if they're coachable, they'll be grateful. Then you can start to really go into their money story, their relationship to money, and how this investment could be the thing that turns it around for them once and for all. And ideally, even if someone doesn't know how they're going to make it happen, like when I got off the phone with my coach originally, I didn't know how I was going to make it happen, but I knew I was a hell yes to figuring it out. I knew I was a hell yes to doing whatever it takes. And what I liked about the way she had me do it, she was like, if you're a hell, because I kept saying, yes, I'm a hell yes, and I want to do this, but I just don't know how. Like, I don't know the how. And she kept saying, the how is actually not that important. We don't need to go into the how. If you got into a car accident and your leg was like hanging off by a thread and you needed $10,000 to put it back on, you'd find a way, right? So if the stakes are high enough, you're going to find a way. So it's not impossible. We can be clear that it's not impossible. There's always a way. People have taken out personal loans. They've asked friends and family to help. They've, opened up a credit card, like whatever it takes. If you believe that this is going to be the thing that changes your money relationship, then why wouldn't you do it? So we're not worried about the how. I trust that you can figure that out. All I need to know from you is that you're a hell yes to stepping into this journey. And if you are, let's declare that to the universe by saying we're both a yes to this process, which allows me as the coach to hold space for you to figure out the how, but also have on my calendar the first session for when we start this work. There's no reason for us to not book the first session unless there's a part of us that doesn't believe that we're going to show up to that session. So the very act of booking that first session, pulling up our calendars, putting it down and saying, okay, I'll see you, March 6th at 11 a.m. for our first session. I'm super excited. The very act of doing that is declaring to the universe you're serious. And that is also what allows for the how to get figured out. And again, I don't force this on people. I offer it to them. Would you like to make a declaration to the universe? If so, let's schedule the first session. Let's get serious. This is happening.
I love that. It's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful, like working with these energies without all these like forcing energy and so forth. The last thing that I want is to kind of, put something on my clients. I'm always like, okay, good. Like, how would you like to proceed? Like, is it something where you want to have assistance with? Is it me? Is it not me? But I really love this turn on like, okay, what do you think about declaring it to the universe right now and really making it solid and kind of pulling it like really from all these like layers and making it matter. And that's such a beautiful way to really like open up the space for that.
Yeah. Because if you think about how they get off the call versus how you're doing it now, where they get off the call and it's super vague and like, you know, nothing is clear really, like in terms of you guys working together. There's all this time between the next time you're supposed to talk. There's going to be all this stuff coming up for them around, oh my God, like how am I going to tell her that I don't know how to pay for this, you know, and then it's easier to just cancel the call than to actually start to look at this, right? So you want to show them the benefit and the power of looking at it right now, not tomorrow, not in an hour, not in 2 weeks, right now. And empower them through that process of showing them what their true relationship to money is. And showing them that it doesn't have to be that way. It can change. When I said yes to an $8,000 coaching program, when I had no job and $2,000 to my name and my rent was due a week later, when I said yes to $8,000, I was literally shitting myself. I felt so much fear came up, so much resistance. I was like shaking, you know, but I knew in my heart of hearts that this was going to be the thing that was going to allow me to, and it allowed me to surrender to a deeper place than I've ever surrendered before in my life. And within 3 weeks, I made like $18,000. So I'm the living proof that anything is possible and it's not comfortable. And that's the point. So I think in terms of the actual like money conversation, that's about it. Now, is it possible that they email you before that first session and say, hey, you know, I wasn't able to find the money? Yes, 100%. That does happen sometimes. And that's totally okay because again, most of the work is still in front of them, right? Like there's going to be a lot of scarcity stuff that's going to start to become present for them, and they may just not have the tools to overcome it yet. So what you can do is you can, if there's like, I really want to do this, I just need a little bit more time. Can we set another date, you know, for a week later or whatever? If that doesn't cost a lot of skin off your back, I'm happy to extend that invitation to someone but only if I feel that they really are fully committed and they just need that extra time, then I'm happy to do that. But if I feel like they've already given up, so if they email me and they're just kind of like, yeah, I don't know, it just didn't happen. Like they were waiting for some sort of miracle to, like they didn't take proactive action and they just kind of, you know, hope that magic would happen and nothing happened because nothing changed within them, then I'm not willing to, then it's like, now's probably not the best time. Just come back to me when that's changed, when you're really ready to go all in. The thing that the trap that I used to get drawn into at that point is wanting to help them, like wanting to coach them through it so that they could show up to that call, like, and trying to offer advice or insight and provide value up front, which oftentimes just wasn't helpful because it was disempowering myself, and it was buying into this idea that they need me, which also is not helpful because they don't actually need me. They don't need anything or anyone. We are truly sovereign. This is just about us remembering that. So, and a lot of times, to be completely honest, that would come from me really feeling like I need the money too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like, you know, of course, the more relaxed you can be about the conversation and not needing it and not being attached to it, the more easily it can flow and the more empowered someone can be to say yes. And depending on your circumstances, like that may not always be the case. Like you may feel some contraction financially and you may know that signing that client would really support you. At that point, it's really your job to find that inner alignment before the call and to truly surrender to the greater intelligence that governs all things and allow for whatever outcome to take place and trust that that's the best outcome, even if it means that this is not your client.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I feel that. It's like it's so fascinating to me. Like sometimes I just speak for myself. Like I get so like disappointed after like there, it was so beautiful, and then there's like just this just canceling and so forth. But this idea of, I mean, I also don't lose anything with that. It's just like this idea I bought myself already in, and oh, cool, like what can I do with that, like how would it liberate me or whatsoever. And like it's just this like construct of something that not even has manifested yet. It's just the idea where I bought myself into.
Exactly.
And like, but yeah, to let this go, like all the clients I have also right now, it's like I haven't thought about like seriously about them being my clients actually. Mm-hmm. In this sense, I was like more like, okay, cool, interesting, let's just really playfully explore and be curious.
Yes. You didn't get attached, yeah.
Yes, without any attachment. Mm-hmm. And then it was always like just a gentle surprise, like an amazing surprise, like, oh, nice,
we're doing this. Totally. That's the best way. That's really like that playful, what you said when you use that word playful, that really resonates. It's like, this is a game. This whole life thing is a game. And so the more playful we can be with the conversation, with whether they say yes or no, it's like, it's not even up to me. At the end of the day, it's about nothing I could do or say could convince someone to work with me if they're not meant to work with me.
Yeah.
So I can just take that huge pressure off myself. If they're meant to work with me, they will. And the conversation will take us the places it needs to take us for them to have that recognition. And so that really provided a lot of ease for me in it. And also I went through phases, like in the beginning, it was so easy and playful. And then I kept getting a lot of like, I can't afford it. And then I would start to dread the money conversation. And I would start to oh, I don't want to talk about money, and then that of course would not work. And I'd get off the phone frustrated and felt like I failed someone, or I was trying to convince someone and I failed them. And like, none of that felt good. And then I went through my, hiring my coach and going through my own fear of investing in myself. And then that opened up like all this flow, and $18,000 came in, and I was like, okay, great. I've cracked it. Never again am I going to have to worry about this. Like, and then I went through another phase where like suddenly it's kind of stopped being easy, and I started getting attached again, and I didn't understand why. And then I went into the cycle of beating myself up because I thought I should already have figured it out. I thought I'd already, like this whole idea of like, oh, I cracked the code. Like now I'm good. I got attached to that being true. And when there was a deeper layer for me to transmute, I went into full-blown resistance, and I was like, nope, not going there again. I know what that feels like. I'm not going there.
Yeah.
And then it got really uncomfortable because the moment we resist, of course, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that forced me into like deeper levels of surrender. And so it's been really, truly this just like ebb and flow of intention, surrender, until now. I feel like the last year or so, I've truly been able to consistently show up with this ease and this grace and this joy and this playful energy and non-attachment. But it took a second to get there. And what I've learned about myself in the process has been, of course, priceless. And that's the other thing about all of this is it doesn't matter what you charge. At the end of the day, the work that you're going to do with them and the experience they're going to have working with you is priceless. And you actually can't put a price tag on it in a way that would make any sense at all, because how do you pay for something that's priceless?
Yeah.
It's really just, it's so arbitrary, right? And that's why, again, that lens of like, this is a game. And in this game where I'm playing this character, what number feels most fun to me? And that's why playing with portal numbers has been really, another way of expressing that fun of it. It's like, yeah, I can charge $11,111 if I feel like it. I can charge $111,111.111 like if I want to,
Yeah.
And if I commit to that, I'm going to find someone who's going to be super stoked to write that check.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And like, do you have a specific like alignment program thing for yourself that keeps yourself in this consistent energy of playfulness, non-attachment to these things, where it's just like you said, like that you could anchor yourself in like this reality of, okay, it's just, there are not these like ups and downs and everything and these contraction moments. It just is on a kind of consistent level.
Well, I mean, my experience of that is, yes, I have certain practices that connect back to my core, as you said at the beginning of the call, like the truest part of me that knows that everything is fine and I'm fully taken care of, and I'm one with all. For me, the easiest way to tap into that is just spending time in nature and really giving myself space to like lay on the earth and be with the trees. That's like the simplest way for me to tap into that energy. Or singing or dancing or any sort of art that I'm doing just for the sake of it. Now, if I'm trying to use my practice as a tactic to get somewhere that's not here, trying to escape some part of me that's like, yo, I'm contracted right now, I need some love. And I am trying to ignore that part of myself, then now I've actually made it worse. And I've definitely gone down that rabbit hole of like trying to use the spiritual practice to shift my vibration. But really what I'm being asked to do right now is be present with what's coming up. And so the fastest way to dissolve, any sort of contraction or resistance is to go into it. Is to, like, our tendency is to shy away, to pull back. But the fastest way actually is to like go, okay, let's go right into it. Like I like see this needle and I see like the, it's like go right into that little super uncomfortable squeezy space. And what's the gold there for me? Because if this is here, it's showing up for a reason. It's showing up to teach me something about myself. I don't know what that is, but I'm willing to find out. And so the more that I've stopped trying to resist, again, the story can get really real. For me, the story was, I've transmuted all my money stuff. I'm never going to have a problem signing a client ever again. Like, that was a story I created. And then I got attached to that story. And then the universe kicked me on my ass and was like, that's not how this works. Nothing is permanent. You're always evolving. Let go of the story and discover something new about yourself underneath that. And I had to move through these layers. It's like this, because the universe is always working with you in a way that's going to serve you best, right? Sometimes it's not helpful. Like, let's say you're working with a client and what they really need to hear is just like some really hard truth about themselves. It may not be helpful for you to give them that full download right away. It may be more helpful for them to build some trust with you, to start to find some ways to connect to themselves that feel good. And then when the time is right, like that truth can be delivered with compassion in a way that they can actually hear it, rather than just like shutting down and going, okay, this person's unsafe, right?
Yeah.
So the universe works with you in the same way. For me, at that point in my life, when I first started working with my coach and I made that investment, what I needed was confirmation that this huge risk I had taken was going to pay off. And so I magnetized $18,000, almost like, out of nowhere. And it gave me this huge amount of trust and in myself, in the universe, in life. Like, it was exactly what I needed. Yeah. But that didn't change the fact that there were still parts of me that needed to be healed that were still in scarcity. And when I was ready for those, even though I didn't want it to be true, I was given those and I was shown those. And so it gives it to us in bite-sized little nuggets, right? It's like, okay, chew that, digest that. And now here's the next one. And yes, eventually we do move through this stuff and we can find completion with it. Like, this last few months has been the first time in my life where I really feel like, when I feel into my system, I can't identify any more fear programming. I can't identify any more. Like, it's just like, surely if someone broke into my house and threatened me with a gun, I would feel fear. But in terms of my day-to-day life and, even the risks I'm taking in my business and my artistry, like, it's exciting, but there's no more fear. And so will that last? I'm definitely not going to get attached to it being this way forever, because I know that doesn't work. But for right now, that's what's true. And so I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Totally see what you've said.
Any other last questions around this topic?
Let me see what I've written down already here, like 4 pages and stuff.
One thing we didn't talk about that I want to just briefly touch on is splitting up payments. So a lot of times people at a higher, price point will ask if it's okay for them to split up payments, to split it into multiple payments. And I really prefer that someone pays it in one lump sum, because that way it's handled and it's out of the way, and now we can focus on the work. And I really invite people to do that first. If absolutely they need to break it into payments, I'm willing to work with them. Usually no more than 2 payments. In the beginning I did 3, but honestly, every time I did that, it would become a thing. Like there's the second or the third payment would be due, and they would be, in that place of like, oh, I don't know. Like it would turn into a thing that was kind of like, it would weigh down the work I found. And so I've stopped doing 3 payments. I'll do 2 if absolutely necessary. But I really prefer 1.
Yeah. Okay. That's also good to know, because first I also did only 1 payment, or like maximum 2, but actually I found that I love to have it like, actually, like, for example, 1 payment each month. Because it gives me security.
Yeah. And like, if people are consistent, then great. Like if you feel like people can consistently commit to a monthly payment, great. If it's a huge stretch for them, then there's a good chance that they're going to run into some resistance every time it's time for them to make that payment.
Yeah, but it's also really good to have this in the back of my mind, because like you said, it's like the energy that they're bringing with it then, and also what they're bringing with in the coaching sessions. Of course, like this wouldn't be really ideal either. So
yeah, it's cleaner. It's cleaner to just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is too, like I had a hard time making one of my payments. My coach split it up into payments for me, and I had a hard time making actually one of the final payments, because I had made all this money and then I spent it all. And then like I went back into the scarcity thing, and I was just like, I feel like I'm back at square one. Like what's going on? And I had said that I wanted to continue with her, which meant that I owed her another payment. And I waited till like the last minute to kind of be like, oh, I don't really know. Like, should I continue? Shouldn't I? And she was like, show up with me the way you want your clients to show up with you. Respect my time. We said we were going to continue. This is what you committed to. Everything is a reflection. If you're willing to show up like this for me, then you're going to be the space for clients to show up like that with you.
Yeah.
And that was some hard medicine for me at the time, but I needed to hear that because I see it. Everything is a reflection.
Yeah.
So what are you saying yes to, right? Like me as a client being iffy on that last payment was me saying yes to being treated that way.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Also, for me, for example, there was a situation with a client where it was really unclear, like from their side about a payment, and we totally spoke through it and everything was fine. And then, like the last 5 meters shortly before the line kind of, and then I was like, just looking at myself, okay, wait a minute, where is this kind of feeling right now showing up in my life? And then it wasn't even connected to something with clients or anything, but it was something that I put off so long, like a bill that I needed to pay myself. It was just something really simple and small and so forth. And I even forgot about it. But then it was like, oh, wait a minute. Gotcha. Yes. And I took care of all these like little things that I had to handle personally. And then kind of it happened naturally, and, and I even got a bit more. But like, it's so interesting. It's so fascinating to see how every single thing, like every single energy that's not pure is reflected in the coaching business, or like when we are like entrepreneurs, like just everything.
we cannot hide from ourselves.
Yes.
Not with this work, not with these intentions. It's like we are asking to be shown our full self, right? And like sometimes it's not pretty, but it's literally part of the gig.
Yes. And then it's also so beautiful to see it, because it's like it's so spiritual. I hate the term, but like it's so like the ultimate like embodied kind of spiritual form, just dealing with all these stuff. And it's like, it's just fascinating.
It is. It's like the universe boot camp, right?
Yes.
Like you're really signing up to be a part of something that is going to push you to your edge in order to do this work. And that's part of it. It is an initiation process for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Everyone involved. And that's so one thing that I wanted to talk about too, just briefly at the end here is, you know, once you know the rules, then you can break them. Like that's a saying that I think is really helpful. So for me in the beginning, this structure and having that be like my protocol was really, really helpful because I needed it for myself to feel solid and secure and like feel like I know what I'm doing. This is how I do it. And I didn't deviate from that for a while. Now I'm playing a lot more. So the playful energy that I'm bringing into my life, I'm also bringing into my business. So I'm experimenting with what does it look like if I give someone the opportunity to choose their own price? What does it look like if I give them a range to choose from? And I make sure that whatever that bottom range is, you know, the minimum that I would feel really excited to do it for. But I expand that range really high into the other direction and then let them feel into what is going to serve them best to invest into this. So, and whether that's with one-on-one work or whether that's with a passive offering, like an online course that you have on your website, you know, I released a 4-part video series and I kind of tuned in, like, do I want to charge a set price point for this? Or do I want to just give it to people for free and let them decide if they want to send me a love offering in the form of money? And I had someone I'd never met before. I didn't even know she followed me on Facebook, send me $1,111, like through PayPal, just as a thank you for all the content I've been creating. If I had set a price point of like $33 or whatever, that probably wouldn't have happened. Right. So you can play with it too. And I like to empower people to make their own internal sovereign decisions of like, this is what feels good to me to invest. So whether like having a little bit of fluidity, I don't think is a bad thing. I know a coach friend of mine, he gets on the phone with people and he's super upfront. He's like, I charge different amounts for different people based on what they need. So what did you come to the call expecting to pay for this? And if they say, I don't know, $8,000, he say, great, let's double it. Because you need to be outside of your comfort zone. In order for this to work, you need to be outside of your comfort zone. That's kind of cool too, right? Like you can play with it at that point. But I think having a solid structure to kind of lean into is really, really helpful. I know it really helped me.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Actually, I have a lot of things that I will also say, but I also feel so complete, like with just what you were sharing. It just feels really round.
If there's anything burning, feel free to ask. Say.
Maybe one thing is like this, what you shared was like this playing with the energies and how we can use other kind of energies and let them infuse this practice or like the coaching calls itself. So for example, I'm working right now with receiving energy, and I mean this can, like, we can receive in different forms through different circumstances, but having this energy of receiving in other areas of my life and then consciously transferring it to the calls, or just having it kind of, I mean, it's anyways overlapping and like, you know, just everywhere then, but how these things are like showing up. And it's just, yeah, it's so juicy to play with all that and kind of,
it's so beautiful because it's all, no matter what the outcome, it's always actually giving you what you want on some level, right? Like even if you don't get that client that you really thought you needed, well, what you're actually getting is you're being shown that part of you that thinks you need something external. So that's the part of you that wants really to be integrated back into wholeness. So that client was never meant to be your client. That client was meant to be the thing that showed you where you were still attached to giving your power away. And when you start to look at life in that way, then everything becomes a gift, and you cannot fail. It's impossible.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh, actually, I now have one other question on my, may I?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So I have a lot of people wanting to have like calibration session with me, which is basically like an enrollment conversation. And they have really low self-esteem, like really so low self-worth. And of course, then it's a also interesting situation to say, okay, kind of, okay, like invest in yourself when with the internal like block of, okay, I'm not worth anything, so why should I invest in myself? Do you have the same process with these kind of blocks as well, or do you have a specific thing, or do you just don't even take these people on? Or
I mean, everyone has self-worth issues. Everyone.
Yeah.
It's underneath all of it. It might manifest as like a scarcity conversation or lack of money or an inability to attract the right partner or get the right job or find your purpose. Like it could manifest as all those things, but generally underneath all of that is a feeling of not feeling worthy. So if you you can almost safely assume that most people feel that way. Now there's a difference between having an inflated ego, right? And being arrogant and being like, I'm the best, I'm the shit. And having self-worth. Those are two very different things. So someone could externally reflect that they are super confident and like, you know, actually feel like total shit about themselves. Usually that is a compensation. It's like compensating for not feeling worthy. So if someone has self-worth stuff that's been a predominant part of the conversation, then what a beautiful opportunity to give them to transmute that by literally investing in themselves with the intention of stating like, I am worthy of this. I am worthy of this investment. I'm so worthy of asking a friend to support me financially so that I can expand in this way. I'm so worthy of taking out this credit card and joyfully paying it back when the money starts to roll in.
Yeah.
You know, you can use, money is just a neutral energy. So it can be pointed into anything. And it can be pointed towards amplifying self-worth. It can be pointed towards expanding creativity, maximizing impact. It doesn't matter where the energy is pointed. Whatever it's pointed at is going to expand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're having people with that conversation a lot, then this is the perfect thing to use for them to see that the very act of investing in themselves is going to make a huge difference in their self-worth.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing for us too, as coaches, right? Or as healers or practitioners or whatever your service might be. It's our own self-worth that often determines whether we're willing to let someone actually pay us for our time. Like, am I actually worthy of being paid for my time? And this is a crucial piece, and I'm glad you mentioned this because I forgot to say this. People aren't paying you for the 90 minutes that they're spending on the phone with you once a week. They're paying you for the journey that you went on to become who you had to become in order to even be able to offer the service in the first place.
Yeah.
They're paying you for holding a container over several months in which they are going to have to go into any direction of the spectrum, including the really intense, shadowy stuff. And you're going to energetically be tethered to them all day, every day. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you are going to be in connection with this person, because the moment there's an agreement made like that, and especially if there's energy exchanged in the form of a financial agreement, now you are connected. There's an umbilical cord that's connecting the two of you. And initially when I started this process, I was like, oh, I could have 10, 15 clients. It'd be great. And I realized that when I hit 5 clients, I'm maxed. Energetically, I can't carry more. Because I'm not just carrying my client, I'm carrying their family, their kid, their husband, their dog, their job. I'm carrying their entire universe energetically in my life. So my price point has to match that. It has to match me showing up for someone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 6 months. Suddenly $7,000 doesn't seem like a lot of money.
Yes.
So that's really important for yourself to know, and also to make them aware that the investment is not into the 90 minutes with you or even the 6-month coaching program. The investment is into the result, the reality that they are going to be living at the end of this program.
Yeah.
We can't know exactly what that's going to be. We can make suggestions. We can have intentions. We can have goals even. But at the end of the day, whatever their soul is calling them forth into is going to manifest. And we trust that that's going to be the best thing for them.
Feel it. Beautiful. Yes, yes, yes.
Awesome, Judy. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today and for allowing this conversation to flow so naturally. And I feel like we covered I feel like I kind of gave everything that is most prevalent or has been most helpful for me in this call, and that feels good to be able to share that.
Oh, sharing it's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom with us, with me, and using me as an example. I feel so grateful.
My pleasure. All right, my love. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.